I'm 80 years old and I just understood something that makes me feel like I wasted most of my life. Not all of it, but the parts that mattered most. I spent decades taking care of everyone around me, my parents, my wife, my kids, my siblings when they needed help, my friends when they called. I showed up, I was reliable, I was the one people could count on. And somewhere in all of that, I completely disappeared. I didn't notice it happening. That's the part that keeps me up now. I didn't feel it slipping away. I thought I was doing what you're supposed to do. I thought being needed was the same thing as being loved. I thought if I just kept going, kept providing, kept solving everyone else's problems, that eventually I'd get to myself. I really believed there would be time later. When I was younger, in my 20s and 30s, I had this energy that felt endless. I'd work all day, come home, help with whatever needed doing, fix things around the house, handle the finances, make calls for my father's business, listen to my wife talk about her day. And I'd think, this is just what life is. This is what men do. This is what good people do. I had things I wanted to do for myself, little things. I wanted to learn woodworking. I wanted to take up fishing seriously. I wanted to travel somewhere alone, just to see what that felt like. But those things always felt selfish compared to what everyone else needed from me. So I put them off. I told myself I'd do them later, when the kids were older, when my parents didn't need as much help, when I retired and had more time. I built this whole future in my mind where I'd finally get to be myself. But that future never came. Because there was always something else, another crisis, another person who needed me, another reason to wait. My father got sick when I was 42, dementia. It came on slow and then all at once. My mother couldn't handle it alone, and my brother lived 3 states away, so it fell to me. I went to their house every day after work. I managed his medications. I argued with insurance companies. I held his hand when he didn't know who I was anymore. It took 5 years of watching him fade. And when he finally died, I thought I'd feel relief. But I just felt empty. 2 months later, my mother had a stroke, so it started again. I don't want to make it sound like I was some kind of martyr. I wasn't. I loved my parents. I wanted to help them. But somewhere in those years, I stopped doing anything that wasn't about someone else's survival. I stopped reading. I stopped seeing my old friends. I stopped noticing what I felt about anything. I became a function, not a person. My wife didn't understand. She'd ask me why I was always so tired, why I never wanted to go out anymore, why I seemed distant. And I couldn't explain it to her because I didn't understand it myself. I just knew I didn't have anything left at the end of the day. She started spending more time with her friends, more time on her own projects. And I told myself it was fine. I told myself we'd reconnect later, but we didn't. We stayed married. We were polite. We shared a house and a routine. But we stopped being close. We stopped talking about real things. And I didn't fight for it because fighting would have required energy I didn't have. I thought it didn't matter that much. I thought love was supposed to look like that after a certain number of years. My kids grew up and moved away. That's what they're supposed to do. I know that. But when they left, I realized I didn't know them the way I thought I did. I knew their schedules. I knew their problems. But I didn't know what they dreamed about. I didn't know what made them feel alive, because I never asked. I was too busy managing everything to actually see them. They call me now, once a week, sometimes twice. We talk about surface things, their jobs, their kids, the weather. And I can feel the distance between us, but I don't know how to cross it anymore. Too much time has passed. We're polite strangers who share a history, and that's my fault. My mother died when I was 63. After the funeral, I went home and sat in my garage and thought, okay, now I can finally do something for myself. But I didn't know what that was anymore. I'd spent so long being needed that I didn't know who I was without it. I didn't have hobbies. I didn't have passions. I didn't even have preferences. If you'd asked me what I wanted to do on a Saturday, I wouldn't have been able to tell you. I'd erased myself so completely that there was almost nothing left to recover. I tried to start things. I bought tools for that woodworking shop I'd always wanted. I went out there twice and then stopped going because it felt uncomfortable. I didn't know how to be alone with myself. I didn't know how to do something just because I wanted to. It felt selfish. Even though no one needed me anymore, even though I finally had permission, I couldn't give it to myself. My wife died 3 years ago, cancer. She fought it for 8 months, and then she was gone. We'd been together for 54 years, and when she died, I felt sad. But I also felt something I didn't expect. I felt like I'd lost her a long time ago, and I'd let it happen. I cleaned out her things and found letters she'd written but never sent. I didn't know she did that. I sat on the floor of our bedroom and read through them, and there were all these words about feeling lonely, about wanting to talk to me and not knowing how, about missing me even though I was right there. She wrote that she felt like she was living with a ghost, and she was right. I'd become one. At her funeral, people told me how lucky she was to have me, how strong I was, how much I'd provided, and I nodded and thanked them, but inside I wanted to scream because none of it mattered. All that work, all that responsibility, all that effort to be good and reliable and strong, and I'd still lost everything that mattered. I'm 80 now. I live alone in a house that's too big for me. My kids visit a few times a year. My grandkids barely know me. I spent my whole life taking care of people, and now I'm just here. And the worst part is, I can't even blame anyone else. No one forced me to do this. No one told me I had to disappear. I did it to myself because I thought that's what love looked like. I thought being needed was the same as being valued. I thought if I just kept providing, eventually someone would see me. But they didn't. Because I never let them. I never said, I need help. I never said, I can't do this alone. I never said, I'm tired. I never said, I want something different. I just kept going and going and going until there was nothing left of me to give. I don't tell you this because I want sympathy. I don't. I made my choices. I live my life. It's too late for me to go back and do things differently. But if you're younger than me, if you're in the middle of your life right now, taking care of everyone, putting yourself last, telling yourself you'll get to yourself later, I need you to hear this. Later doesn't come. It just doesn't. You think it will. You think there will be this moment when everything calms down and you'll finally have time for yourself. But life doesn't work that way. There will always be something else. Another crisis, another responsibility, another reason to wait. And one day you'll wake up and realize you spent your whole life waiting for permission to exist. And no one's going to give it to you. You have to take it. You have to say no sometimes, even when it feels like you're letting people down. You have to ask for help, even when it feels weak. You have to do things for yourself, even when other people don't understand. Because if you don't, you'll end up like me. You'll end up old and alone, looking back on a life where you were everywhere, except in your own story. I don't know what happens after this. I don't have much time left. Maybe a few years, maybe less. And I can't get back the decades I lost. I can't undo the distance between me and my kids. I can't have another conversation with my wife. I can't meet the version of myself I might have been if I'd made different choices. That's gone. But you still have time. If you're listening to this and something in you feels seen or scared or sad, then maybe that's enough. Maybe that's the thing that makes you stop and think about what you're doing, about who you're losing while you're busy saving everyone else. I hope you don't wait as long as I did. I hope you figure it out before it's too late. I hope you remember that taking care of yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. And I hope when you're my age, you can look back and see a life where you were actually in it. Not just watching from the edges, not just a shadow in your own story. I wish I could say I figured that out sooner, but I didn't. And now all I can do is tell you, so you don't make the same mistake.